Welcome to Mic'd Up. I'm your host, Mike DeChocho, and on my show, I interview entrepreneurs, award-winning authors, entertainers, business leaders, athletes, and other talented individuals who I personally invited to join the show to inspire you to be brave and bold in pursuit of your dreams. Our show topics include overcoming adversity, comeback stories, launching a startup, charitable causes, and wisdom from business leaders and top performers. If you dig the show and are looking for more inspiring content from incredible people, click the subscribe button and you'll be notified each time a new episode is released. Subscribing is free and it means the world to me that you've chosen my channel to tune into. I welcome you to connect with me on other social channels as well. All links are clickable in the description to make it even easier to connect. Thank you again for tuning in to Mic'd Up. Enjoy the show. Hey guys, our guest today is known as RahRah for her positive energy as a cheerleader of life. She's a motivational women's empowerment coach with nearly 30 years of experience in real estate. She discovered through her books how she can use her thoughts and words to change her mood, her outlook on life, and even shape her future. She's on a mission to motivate and empower women and girls to find their inner strength and their voice to take control of their life and live the life they were born to live. She empowers women to flip I can't into I can. Welcome to the show, author, coach, storyteller, realtor, volunteer, and the founder of the RahRah Coach, Patricia Love.
Hey, how are you? Nice to see you, Mike. I'm so excited to be here. I feel honored.
This is amazing. We've been planning this forever.
I know, right?
What feels like forever. So I'm just excited that we're doing this. And I got to give you another shout out here to anyone who's watching or listening right now. This is a first time moment on Mic'd Up. I have over 71 episodes or 72 episodes now out when this is out. There's going to be maybe even more than that. First time ever recording a podcast where the guest is on a boat.
Yes, I am.
She's on the water. She's like, you know what, Mike, I can fit you into my schedule. I'm just going to be hanging out here.
I'm going to be hanging out on my boat.
Yeah. You know, if she doesn't like what she hears or sees, she's just going to be like, all right, click. And she's off.
Yeah, exactly. And if you see me going like this a little bit, it's because we got little waves going on or something. But right now I'm in Seattle, Washington. It's sunny, but you know, that could change any moment here. But
I know.
So all good.
We got the sunshine here in sunny Buffalo, New York, and it's like 46 degrees today, which is a heat wave. Really not true. March, we can get some nice weather. Like tomorrow, it's supposed to be in the 60s here. By the time this comes out, we probably are finally going to be in the 60s when people are listening. But really, you don't know what you're going to get in Buffalo in February and March. It's always, if it's not snowing, to me, it's a win.
Well, there you go. And here, if it's not raining, it's a win. Mm-hmm. So we don't get the snow so much. Although like 2 weeks ago, we had 10 inches. Shocking.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. I don't care where you live. That's enough to really, it wouldn't shut things down in Buffalo, but it would make things, you know, it would be talked about. It would be known, most likely school irregardless of COVID, right?
Yeah.
School would be closed at that point with 10
Everything stopped here.
Everything would be stopped. Guys, you can check out Patricia at her website, patricialove.com. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/the RahRah Coach, and it's RahRah Coach. And on Instagram, you can follow her at Coach Patricia Love. Thank you again for joining us today.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm excited to have this conversation.
So as I mentioned at the top of the show, you are known as RahRah, right?
Yes.
You just talked about that with your social, but it was not always like that. So I want to go all the way back to the beginning. When you were a child, your father was emotionally absent. I know your mother battled with alcoholism. We talked about that off camera when we met. And what I'd like us to do today, and for our audience tuning in, is to really benefit from your story and learn lessons through your story, because not everybody has those exact situations. Some maybe worse, maybe better, but we can all learn from you. So share with us how you actually overcame that. And, you know, I mentioned it in the bio, you did it through reading because you weren't getting it necessarily from family. So you had to go and find other resources. So talk about how you found through reading the ability to get through that. and other techniques that helped you blossom into the positive person that you are today?
Okay. Well, it definitely has been a journey. I will say that. And just so it doesn't sound like pie in the sky and Pollyanna, it's always a continuous work. Okay.
Right.
So but I can well say that it is worth it in the long run. When I was young, I was the youngest of 3 kids. Okay. So, and when I say the youngest, there was pretty much 8 years between my next sibling. I had 2, a sister and a brother. And that's a big gap when you're growing up. So when you're 8, you're like 5 and your sibling is 14, they don't want anything to do with you, right?
Right. It's
So
not cool to
anyway,
hang out with your 5-year-old sibling, boy or girl, doesn't matter. Yeah.
Exactly. So you get that. So, so since I didn't have anybody in what you said is that my father was, emotionally unavailable. He had his own story and growing up, which was not a good story. And that's a whole nother conversation, but he just did not know how to show love. So he actually ended up showing love through buying things. My mother was, like you said, an alcoholic. So she wanted to usually get rid of me as much as possible. So send me off to, the neighbors to play if there was anybody, or go to your room and play, and play with your dolls or whatever.
Yeah.
So I really learned to grow up by myself. And but you learn what you live. So I didn't know any different. I thought that's kind of the way everything was.
Right. You only know what you know, but through those situations, you also can be further along. Like you don't reflect on it until years later. I didn't want to interrupt you, but
totally. But
you're
exactly right. You do not reflect on this until you become an adult. And even when you're an adult, you don't always reflect on it in a timely manner. Okay. And that's just normal, and everybody's journey is different. But what I did, and as soon as I could start reading, one of the things that was important to me was really, as a young child, you want your father's love. And I was never really getting that. So it was almost like, and instinctively a child knows this. Instinctively, you're not getting the hugs, you're not getting the love, especially when you see it from other kids getting love from their family and their fathers and the such. So I always believed, okay, if I could just be like him, then I could get his attention. So there was one day when I was in my just like 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there, I'd go down to his office, because when he was gone, he had a big office downstairs, and he had books and all kinds of things. And the first book I picked up was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I thought to myself, what is this? And I said, if my father's reading it, then I should read it too. So I learned those principles of sales, because my dad was in sales. So he was using these, all of these tools and techniques for selling. So basically, you can use it in your own life, or you can use it in your careers and the such. I took it as, how can I use this to get my father's attention? So I did that, and I started negotiating with him because he was in sales. And so I started negotiating my allowance. I started doing all kinds of things. In some ways, I'm an NLP today. In some ways, I was mirroring him. And NLP, being an NLP is a kind of a language of the mind. And I was learning to mirror him, because when I mirrored him, I got his attention. And so that was really important. But
did that work? Do you think he noticed the effort?
Yes, it worked. And in addition to that, I said, wow, I'm going to continue reading these books, because I was fascinated by the psychology of it all. So even at a young age, I was picking up those Wayne Dyer books and those Napoleon Hills and any of those books back in the day that would bring positivity or show me how to be something that I wasn't in some ways, because I was kind of wearing a mask, because I was trying to be that person my father wanted to be. But then I learned to have it, and I did that even in life. So it kind of can mess you up as you grow up, because you don't even know who you are in a lot of ways. But that's how I got through. That's how I survived. That's how I thrived, through being alone, not being inspired, not being encouraged to do really anything. And a lot of it was being seen and not heard with my family. So back in the day, a lot of, and it still happens today, where women's voices especially are just not heard, or they want you to look cute and pretty, but I don't
Don't
really
open
care
your
about
mouth.
the
Just, yeah. It's
exactly.
horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So the interior was not important as the exterior.
Yeah, and you just said it, Seen and Unheard. That's the title of your new book.
Yes.
I'm going to show that right now so we can get that up on the screen. Seen and Unheard, a little girl's journey from silence to empowerment. So this is like your life journey. You're telling the story, and there's different lessons throughout it, which we started talking about in that in the first segment here. But what I'd also like to make sure we don't skip, you mentioned it as well, that personal development never ends. And I think it's so important for people to realize no matter where you are, it's important to not judge yourself today to someone else's day 100 when they get started, or someone might be, 10 years in. And we
Right.
always like have this judgmental thing of where like we're trying to be where they are. And it's okay to aspire, but realize that no, even that person's not fully developed, right? Everyone's learning, changing, adapting. The best of the best are continuing to figure out how they can get ahead or just improve personally. It's not always a
Right.
comparison. You know who you're comparing with is the reflection in the mirror. So what are some of the personal development tools or exercises that you can talk to us about and maybe encourage us to make sure we're doing?
Yeah. Well, first off, let me just reiterate what you just said, because you can't say it enough not to compare yourself to
Hmm.
somebody else, especially in today's world of social media. Everybody's comparing themselves. I'm not in the same place they are. I don't have as much money, and they're always comparing themselves. So it's really hard uh, to move forward when you are comparing yourself.
Hmm.
This is a journey of personal growth that should never end. It
Hmm.
should never end. I think people need to look at it that way, because it's a situation where you are growing. You want to always have a growth mindset, because when you have a growth mindset, you are open. You grow. You keep moving. So the first thing, or first technique or tool, not even a technique, is that people need to pause. That's exactly. They need to actually pause. And you're going to actually hear a little noise right now, because there's a boat guy on my boat, by the way. So if you hear that, that's just part of boat life. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, you have to pause. That's number one, because too
Hmm.
many people are on a hamster wheel right now, and
Hmm.
so they never grow. They're just continually on this wheel, and they don't know how to get off. Well, the way they get off is to pause. And is that pause for 1 minute or 20 minutes?
Wow.
Just by pausing is what you need to do to start with. If you don't pause, you'll
Yeah.
never grow.
That's so good because I can reflect on that personally that I always want to be moving and busy and I'm changing being busy into being productive, right? It's like actually getting things done and not just always being on the hamster wheel. And I always feel like being in constant movement is, allowing me to get the most done and everything else. But if you're constantly moving, but you're not actually progressing in like your procedures and your processes either broken or not to its highest level, then you're
Yeah.
just going to keep moving through. And most likely 6 months from now, you're most likely going to be very similar, whether that's business, personal. Like I heard this from, I listen to a lot of podcasts myself, and that's where I learn a lot of great material. But I remember hearing that a lot of times by the time someone hits age 35 or so, typically it's like think of like the married male, they kind of look and act the same way from that age once they kind of achieved and now they're growing their family. Like the outfits they wear are the same. So like the
Yeah.
45-year-old dad is wearing the same kind of look and outfits. And so that's just the physical appearance, but also it's the mindset and mentality that doesn't necessarily grow or challenge itself. And if there's one thing I can say I'm most proud of with myself in the last 10 years, it's that I just hit my 35th birthday. I'm totally a different person than I was when I was 25 in many ways. Progress, um, my faith is stronger. I have a business that I didn't have 10 years ago, and
Right.
I've learned so much through that. I've just learned about networking and meeting people, and I read books now to help myself personally develop. And it's all this stuff continues on. And I know that I'm not even close to, there is no finish line, but I'm not even close to being where I want to be. Um, and I think it's a great way to strive to continue to grow. And when you're not doing it only for yourself, it feels so good.
Yeah. Well,
So
you definitely have to, like you just mentioned, if you're not careful, that hamster wheel, you think it's actually stationary. It's actually moving, the hamster wheel, and you're just not getting off. And
That's
so
so
the
good.
other part of it is you're also depleting your energy, which you could be if you were to pause and focus or align yourself and basically clear your mind.
Yeah.
Actually, if you can clear your mind, you will actually have a better vision.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, there's
You
just
know,
so much going on in there. And how do you ever reflect or actually truly feel and think about how you're at? It's like getting a pulse. Check
yeah.
your pulse. How you like, what are you doing?
But
So
see,
good.
but interesting enough, how many times do you check your pulse?
Right.
We
Almost
don't.
never. Right? But yeah.
Exactly. So it's the pausing is the very first thing you need to do. And some people call it meditation. I
Yeah.
don't like to use the word meditation because it sounds so strong and like, oh my God, I have to like do the ums and
This
become a
big
monk and all that kind
activity.
of stuff.
Yeah.
No. I first off call it quietation, and it's just really quieting the mind. Just quiet yourself, whether it's if you start off with two minutes or 40 minutes, doesn't matter, as long as you're pausing and quieting your mind. And at first it's going to be like, oh my God, your mind is racing. I can't do this. It will start to settle if you give it a chance. And then you're going to start liking it and want to do more of it. It's like any habit. But when you find your clarity becomes, or your focus becomes clearer, and you get more energy, because even though you're pausing, say you paused for 40 minutes, just say you did some quietation for 40 minutes. I can, trust me, you will have 180 minutes worth more of energy.
Ooh, that's so good. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you, and that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. Visit us and schedule your free discovery call at socialchameleon.us. Yeah, what I really like about what you said too is that the first time you do something, just getting started and trying it is so important. And you said, like, even if you can focus for 5 seconds, that's a win.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
next time shoot for maybe 10 seconds and then maybe a minute. And again, don't have these big expectations that you're
Baby
going to
steps.
meditate and be taken to a different place and you got to have serenity and all that.
That's too overwhelming.
Yeah.
That overwhelms people. Nobody does it.
That's like saying you want to be a scientist. Here, try this third grade science experiment, and you should be like, world class, winning prizes for your work. Like,
Right.
no, this is my first time ever trying this thing. Right.
You have to do the work.
I'm probably going to blow something up in the kitchen here. But you have to get in there. And then you said, eventually it will start to come, and you'll start to it'll change forms over time, which is really a great analogy for anything we try in life. You kick the door in, and at first it's super uncomfortable. Why? Because you're challenging yourself to get outside of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
And what happens when you get out of your comfort zone? You grow and you start to actually improve and develop. And that's so good.
Well, you talked about earlier in my bio how I'm big on words, and I am grammatically no, but word-wise I am. And it's really choosing to make the decision to do the work and to and owning it and doing the work that you want to do to keep growing in this world. Because I now have said to myself, instead of saying, oh, get out of the box or being, I'm not comfortable, I say now, I am now comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes. It's incredible. That exact quote was in my head as I was driving home to prepare for this interview. I had thought of that exact thing when the podcast I was listening to was talking about getting outside of your comfort zone. And then I had thought, entrepreneurs are really good at being comfortable when they're uncomfortable, because
you have to
when
be,
there's
things
turmoil
change all the time. Things
Yeah,
are constantly changing.
you're going to be facing adversity no matter what. Whether your business is doing well, there's going to be adversity, and whether you're doing horrible, there's adversity. It's different levels, and everyone's a little bit different. But if you can't handle having things off a little bit in your day, and you just let it turn, like your whole day just goes out the window, then you're going to really struggle, because you got to be able to tightrope walk while there's a tornado going on. And
Yeah, I
that's
agree.
just, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's funny. I was just thinking it, and now we got it into the
We
universe.
got it
There
in
it
to
is. We
say,
delivered.
because, we got to allow ourselves to make mistakes too, and allow mistakes to happen, and allow life to hit us. We must. The biggest problem is everybody thinks, well, I'm just going to go on this happiness train. Everything's going to be fine. Well, life isn't like that. I'm sorry to say, it just doesn't work that way. Somebody's going to throw something in your way. You're going to stub your toe, and it's going to piss you up. And it doesn't matter. Something's going to try and ruin your day. And if you allow that to happen, it will ruin your day. But if you choose, and I use that word choose, if you choose not to make that happen, then you have control over it, because that word choose is a word of control. I choose that I am not going to allow this to happen to me. I choose to eat this. I choose to not have a drink today. It's all of how you approach it, and the words you use, like the uncomfortable thing. I'm going to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's your choice of words that really, and I don't mean aspirations when I say, or I mean affirmations, because affirmations don't work unless you believe them.
Oh, it's so good.
Too many people are like, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be rich. Great. But, if you don't really intuitively or energetically believe it, it won't happen. So people are always going,
with gratitude.
It didn't work.
Yeah. Like I keep hearing, and I'm super focused on gratitude. I say it right here every day: be great, be grateful. I have it on my my mug for the podcast. But if you're just saying, I'm thankful for this, and I'm so happy I'm connected with Patricia, and today is good, and it's 46 degrees in Buffalo, it's not snowing, I'm grateful. If you're just kind of saying it, it's one thing. But when you pause and actually say, today we could be in 2 feet of snow like we were a few years ago, or I just closed a deal yesterday and I already forgot how great that feels because it's 24 hours later. Like, let me make sure I'm really grateful for that coming together, because I know it's not easy to land one. And all of a sudden you start to feel it in your gut, and it, like, you just get a whole different level of gratitude.
The key word is feeling it.
It's
the key word of feeling the gratitude, and not just saying the words, because there's too many people that I say, I'm really grateful for that. I'm like, are you really?
Yeah. How much time did you spend feeling it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a feeling. It's important. And I say that comes to another tool, I might say, is people need to take stock in their feelings, which means they need to become aware. Awareness is critical in growth. It's critical not just for knowing who you are, and it's not woo-woo and all that stuff. Awareness is just knowing who you are, so you know how you can react, and understanding the feelings that you have. And for instance, I just had a client today, and she's like, she was doing the loops. She was overthinking everything the whole time. And I said, well, have you stopped and paused and actually listen to your intuition and what you were feeling at the time? She goes, no, and I wasn't feeling good, and I need to start asking me why. So if she had asked herself, why am I feeling this way, she would become more aware of the situation, and so she wouldn't have been loop-de-looing and overthinking everything. So you need to become aware of your feelings inside. For a lot of men, that's not so easy, but women too. They want to ignore those because sometimes they're hard feelings.
Yeah.
And we don't always want to accept those feelings.
You got to get real with yourself, and it's going to hurt. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, it's painful.
There may be barriers or calluses from years of whatever you might be going through.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like anything in life, to really, like, the things that are the most appreciative or the biggest moments take a long time to get. They're not just something you snap your fingers and you're rich, or you snap your fingers and you have the gorgeous wife or the beautiful job or husband or whatever it is that you're striving for. If it just came in 1 second and could be gone in 1 second, there's a whole different level of appreciation for it.
Yes. Yes.
Something I wanted to hit on too, you mentioned words and how important words are to you,
Yes.
and also our inner voice, right? Our self-talk. There's
Right.
5 golden words that help make people a game changer. Can you share what those 5 words are?
Well, I know what my 5 golden words are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Is acknowledgement,
Hmm.
acknowledging who you are and being aware of different things. The other one is actually forgiveness.
Huge.
Forgiveness is a very important, because not just forgiveness for others, but forgiveness to ourselves.
Mm.
Your mindset. Mindset is very, very important as far as how you deal with life, how you think about life, your thoughts in life. The fourth one is accountability, being accountable to yourself and to others, but mostly to yourself, because nobody's going to celebrate you. Sometimes we have to celebrate ourselves.
Hmm.
If we wait for us to get the big trophy, we might be waiting a long time, because other people have their own story. And then the fifth word is perseverance, which is just keeping you going and never giving up. And it's those particular 5 words I live by. And then of course gratitude is my bonus word, which is it's an envelope into everything, or it becomes the matrix, you might say, of all these particular words.
It's like the gatekeeper for all those to
Yes.
feel all of those things. I love that. I actually wrote down here the 5 golden words based on some research I did right on your website. And it says, you have the power within. And I thought that was the golden words.
Oh.
And then you actually have 5 golden words. So I'm glad I brought it up, because I was trying to put it up to the net, and I thought you were going to slam dunk. You have the power within. And you're like, no, that's just a cute thing on my website. It's gratitude. Opens the door for acknowledgement, forgiveness, mindset, accountability, perseverance.
But all of those 5 words are the power within.
Yeah.
Because we do have the power within us. But we have to pull out these words and these feelings and these awarenesses and acknowledgements to create that power within. Because the voice that you're not hearing is that little teeny life cheerleader inside you that it's powerful. It's there, but you just aren't listening to it. And then as soon as you listen to it more, it ignites more. And I bring it up because women have a big, it's not an issue, but it's a problem with society that has actually curtailed their voices, which again, kind of happened to me when I was growing up. And one of the reasons I wrote the book.
So good. Another thing I don't want to overpass here, you talked about how important the word choice is. Another key word is making choices. And the cool thing is all of those 5, so acknowledgement, forgiveness, mindset, accountability, perseverance, we can go like this and make the choice to acknowledge something that we've done, or to forgive someone or something, or change your mindset. If you're having a poor day, most of it's just in your head anyway, change it. Accountability, if you are a little bit at a loss of checks and balances, snap your fingers and just do something. Write something down that you can come back to later to check yourself on.
Choose to celebrate yourself or something. Yeah.
And perseverance, I mean, you can snap your fingers and just realize, I'm not quitting today. I'm going to do one more day of whatever it is you might be struggling with. So look, I don't have all the answers. I know you don't claim to have all the answers, and nobody really does. We're all human. But it's so good. It just feels good to get these things out there, because the reason I'm doing this show is to help people who are listening.
Yes.
Who are no different than you and I, just looking for the next, reach up. And you're bringing it so far, and we're like halfway through this. And I don't want to put a bookend on this, but I know we can go a little bit over. And you said you have the time, so I'm going to utilize you being on the show. Talk a little bit more about your book as well. Seen and Unheard, A Little Girl's Journey from Silence to Empowerment. If someone wants to pick that up, what are some of the lessons that they can take away? Some key takeaways.
Everybody might be taking different lessons away from it. This is a memoir of my story. So these are my stories about what I went through. But I believe that in reading it, women and young girls potentially would be able to resonate with some of the things that may have happened happened to them when they were young and little girls, or it maybe could help a younger, maybe not a young kid, but a teenager or something, to learn where maybe not to make some mistakes also.
Sure.
And because at each end of at the end of each chapter, I have what we call a reflection, about reflecting on what did this story that I just said, what does that bring up in yourself, your own inner child? And it's really just getting people to pause and think and become aware. And I know that there's a lot of my stories will resonate with some people, but in different ways. Because again, our stories are all similar but different, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And we all have one. And so this was just my way of getting out the fact that when I was young, I was not seen and I was not heard. And so it because of that, it changed the behaviors that I did, not so good behaviors, in my 20s and my 30s, which created reasons of divorce, and not understanding finances, and not understanding what love was, which caused several years of, what am I doing? I'm confused. And so, but yet I didn't know any better at the time. So I kept doing the same thing. I was on that hamster wheel, you might say. Yeah. And I was getting the same results, like divorce. I would make money, then I'd spend it and be broke. I mean, it was a constant thing. And a lot of it stemmed from the behaviors of my father, who bought me things. That was his love. So I always just thought getting new cars and getting, going to really fine eateries and different things was just the way of the world. And that money would just come. Well, it didn't. I realized I had to work for it. And then when I worked for it, I decided I would come back again. But, and it usually did. The problem with it is when it all hits at the wrong time. And then you're like, broken, and nowhere to go but up.
To make sure I understand what you're saying, when things kind of break down personally, business, maybe other things in the family happen, I can relate. I think a lot of people listening right now can relate if they were impacted by the pandemic in some way where that wasn't in the plans. Being a business owner myself, the pandemic hits. I lost my father in December to COVID, and my grandmother 6 months prior to that. And I'm not trying to look for a pity party, but I can understand where things start to feel like all these things kind of hitting at the same time. So if somebody is, just to make sure we hit on this, I really want to make sure we don't overpass it. Someone may be dealing with abuse currently, or abandonment, or they did in the past. So they're dealing with maybe that callous of just trying to push past it or address it in some way. And they're reading your book or are interested in your book because of those two of those things right there: abuse, abandonment, or a similar situation. What kind of takeaways what would you tell them if you met with them right now at Starbucks and they're like, Patricia, I just need help? What would you tell that person?
The first thing I would say is, do not compartmentalize. Do not compartmentalize those feelings. Don't listen to people that say, be strong, get over it. Because that was said to me, that's said to a lot of women, that's said to a lot of men. You're strong, you're tough, just get over it. And what we do then is, when we have trauma, whether it's abuse, and I was abused, not by my family, but by strangers. I was sexually assaulted twice, and I compartmentalized all this. So when you compartmentalize that, what happens is your baggage that you're putting it in just gets bigger and bigger. Like, for instance, you feel like you're not worthy. Well, I'll stick that. I'm not worthy. They told me I'm not worthy. Let me just put that in that bag, and I'll just keep on going and keep stiff upper lip. The problem with that is the bag gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually it's going to blow. So the key thing that I would say to somebody that's talking to me directly would be like, don't compartmentalize. Just feel your feelings. They are real. And they need to be seen, and they need to be heard. Those feelings, they need to be understood, and you need to understand them and feel them and grieve them. And that can be in deaths too. Because my sister died when I was quite young, which was very devastating to me, because she was my mentor. She was the one that actually took care of me a lot of the times. And I didn't grieve enough. I just kept on going. So if there's a buildup, if you're not careful, and that's why sometimes people in their 40s and 50s have, crises because
Yeah.
they've allowed this stuff because they've just been on that hamster wheel and they just
They're
keep on
acting
going.
out on this, they're acting out because of how they're trapped.
Well, and that's the other thing. You start acting out and you wonder why you're having these issues and why you're not making, you're getting divorced or you can't maintain a relationship. And a lot of times we forget to look at ourselves. Where did this behavior start? It's not just one person. It's always two, but you have to take some ownership of where maybe I brought something into this relationship too that's not really making it. And it's behaviors that you got used to that keep coming up and you're being triggered. And you don't even know what it is because you've not stopped to pause to be aware and to figure out those feelings. And if you don't, it will continue on. But that's growth. And that's what the beauty of a journey of life is, to be honest with you, is every day I wake up and go, oh my God, what am I going to learn today? And I embrace the learning because I like myself better and better every single day. And then the other thing I would probably say, and maybe you're going to get into it, is talking about change. Change is not embraced. And so people fight it when really change is the only thing that's consistent. And it's a constant. It will never stop.
Everything is energy. We can get in a whole episode.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
My notebook is energy, believe it or not. I mean, like
everything is energy, and that's a whole nother conversation.
I know, but the point is like that changes. We're designed to change.
Yes.
Look at us. I mean, from an infant to however old you're blessed to be. There's so much change. You see it from age day one to the first birthday of your child. You look and they're like, holy smokes, how much change happens in that.
Or like when you look in the mirror and go, what the heck happened? No.
Yeah, what happened? That could be a good or bad thing, right? Yeah. So you got to embrace change. And I'm just sitting here smiling because as you're telling me all this, I almost forgot that I'm hosting the show. I literally feel like the first audience member of my own show because I'm learning from you. I have the ability, which has been tremendous, to have guests like yourself on this show. And guess what? I get to learn from you. And also you can learn some things from me, but the audience benefits from this conversation. And again, I was having these conversations before I was hosting the show. Some were Zoom. A lot of them were coffee. Now, obviously, you live in Seattle, so that most likely wouldn't have happened unless I was coming to get a cup of Seattle coffee.
That's right.
I'd love to do with you in the future.
Absolutely.
And these conversations would happen, and then they'd come and go. And I was like, oh, my God, I learned so much today, and I know I'm going to forget half of this stuff. And so I actually go back and listen to the shows and learn again from the guests and even learn from things that I say that make me, that's right. I think if I thought that through, how come I didn't act on that yet? And it's pretty neat to actually like teach yourself something from 3 months ago because you can listen to it. And I actually think anyone, you don't have to have a podcast, just record your thoughts, go back and listen to it. And you might go, shoot, that was a cool thing I thought of 3 months ago. I'm going to actually do it today.
Well, it's interesting. I still do write some lyrics and some poetry a little bit. And I look back at some things that I've written. I'm like, oh my God. That's actually pretty good.
That's good.
And at the time I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I thinking?
Yeah.
But it's like listening to yourself, even when on podcasts, I go back and learn and listen and because I always want to learn, what can I do better? How can I be better? How can I be better for the person who's listening to this? How can I support and help them even more so? So it is important for all of that. And if somebody just can take away one little thing, then it's good. It's good. It can change their life.
It's so worth it. So good. I'm just over here just in la la land because so many things are popping into my head as you're talking, and I'm thinking about
popping. It's all good.
How I can apply what we're talking about. I'm anxious to go and start to implement these things. My next question is about self-love because I know that's a big part of this topic. It's very important. You hear it a lot now, and it's a good thing. It's actually become popular to show self-love, right?
Right.
The saying is you need to love yourself before you truly love others is what I have written down here. Do you believe that? And also, can you elaborate on self-love in some ways that we can maybe do that?
Yes. You have to love yourself. Otherwise you can't love others properly. I guess that would be the say, because if you don't love yourself, then you're becoming other people and you're loving what they love and you're doing what they're doing. It's same thing in relationships. And so I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday where she was in between relationships. And I asked her, I said, do you think you could maintain being in between for a while and learn to find out who you are, to actually start to loving that person that you hang out with every single day? Because that's the only person that you should be getting to know, because you're with that person every single day. So that you now, if you start loving yourself, you're gonna learn how to not only love other people better, but they're gonna know how to love you better. And so it's a win-win when you start to love yourself, and you create then boundaries of things too, because so many people who do not love themselves or reject themselves or have felt alone and they're always looking for something else, they're the people that are always feeling or people pleasing. Sure. Because they're always going after. They're the ones that have a tendency to be can be a passive aggressive. They are the ones that don't understand, why I can't, have a relationship, because they haven't taken the time to really sit down, pause, be aware, and start to love who they are, and find out who you don't like about yourself. I mean, when I started doing this, I found out things I didn't like about myself. If I'm being honest, it's like, okay, so I didn't like that about myself. Do you want to change them? Yeah, I do want to change them. So, it's really a win-win. So then you can actually, and when you get to love yourself more, you're going to be more understanding of other people's journeys, other people's stories, because at this point, if you don't understand that, then you just kind of like you judge more.
Makes you more relatable. When you hear someone in a struggle, like, you can relate to them because you actually internalize the fact that you felt or thought or had some of those similar things. And humans we're connectors through common denominators a lot. And I think that's so good to be able to do that. Self-love is a lot of self-reflection.
It's self-reflection. And if you don't, you'll act out.
Yeah.
You act out on things.
And I also feel like when someone truly loves themselves, right? So, and we'll talk about, like, from a partner standpoint, maybe you're on the market, you're looking to date or whatever. And just thinking about someone who's unsure and has kind of the inward denial of, maybe they're just, the confidence isn't there.
Right.
I'm not saying to be cocky or overconfident or taunting your stuff, but just someone who's like really feels like, yeah, you know what? I do love myself. I don't need someone else to know that I'm a good person and a great whatever it is that you follow. I'm just thinking about myself here again with faith, but you start to have these things that you're proud of, and you just got a little bit more swagger. And then when you're not even looking, I feel like that person's illuminating and all of a sudden going to attract someone, opposed to the down. And I'm not saying it's okay to not be okay. I want to make sure I'm getting that out.
It's totally okay not to be okay. It wasn't,
I'm not that old, but I know when I grew up, nobody ever said, Mike, it's okay to not be okay. But today it's accepted to say that. And it's a great thing that we're able to say that. So if someone's hurting, they have a lot to get through. I'm not saying all of a sudden snap your fingers, you love yourself and you're happy. Like it's all gone. Never be
perfect. Yeah.
But if you're actually looking for someone, I feel like, and this is just me again reflecting and being vulnerable as we record, you'll radiate when you actually truly find those things that you love about yourself, right?
Absolutely, 100%. Because when you actually feel good about yourself, and again, like you said, you will never totally love yourself. There's always going to be days, there's always going to be this, but it's a process of working on it on a regular basis. But when you're working on this and care about yourself more to start with, then you will radiate a different energy. You're not going to radiate.
It's the law of attraction.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to attract a people that to your energy. When you are not loving yourself, you attract other people who don't love themselves. That's so
good. That is so good.
And then you get into this like, the chemistry was great. Well, yeah, it's always great for the first 3 months. And then you actually have to get to know each other. And then you find out like, oh, you got a lot of baggage and you got a lot of baggage. You haven't worked on yourself but you don't, neither one of you know how to work on yourself. So then it just
It's like the group of friends that gets together and just talks about everyone else and gripes, like, what are your problems? And
right.
even though they may not admit it or think about it, but that kind of, those things come up quite a bit. And it's kind of, those people are all radiating, the energy level is that. And then you go meet with people who, I'm not saying they're being fake, but they're just genuinely focused on being more grateful and
Yes.
happy, and just their energy's more positive minded, like, someone like yourself.
And
And
it's not Pollyanna. It's just being.
it's it's who you
Positive.
are, though. And then,
it's who you become.
yeah, and you'll hang out with more people like that, and chances are you're going to start to develop those great qualities you love about those other people.
Well, I want to say, I want to say
so
one
good.
last thing too, because what happens is when you feel this energy and you become aware of yourself and your intuition and your energy within, like, for instance, when you walk into a room, you know where the negative energy is, because you now are aware. I mean, just naturally, even the people who are not aware of themselves, I'm like, I'm not feeling this, dude. Oh, I'm feeling some, it's now they just need to take it to the next level and realize that this can work for you.
Yeah. Or you could be the one that's giving off those negative
vibes. Right. That's right.
What's interesting too, and I'm not a scientist and not going to try to play one on TV anytime soon or pretend to be one on our show, but there actually is physical energy that people give off. And that's why when someone says, I'm just feeling their negative energy, you really are feeling. It's not a saying. It's not a cute phrase. It's real.
Literally,
I know you know that, but I'm just
but literally,
to our audience.
People don't understand. We're like, every cell is like 0.7 energy in there. And then if you take all of our cells, it's like 30 trillion cells of energy being like bombarded. And so you when you're like negative, or not even, let's not even go with the negative thing, when you're unhappy, when you're feeling, you're grieving, your energy level is like low. People can feel that,
especially empaths, right? They're the ones that can
exactly. Anybody, honestly, we're all empathic, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But we all just have better, higher awareness of our intuition. But here's the thing: is when you start to grow and be aware, you finally realize that it doesn't have to be happy all the time, or bad or negative all the time, or whatever. Everything is a yin and a yang. There's always a positive and a negative. It's how you can start to balance them. Because you can't have light without dark. You can't have negative without positive. You can't. So you will always have that. It's how you learn to balance that and say, okay, I had a negative thing happen to you. So what can I find that's positive to kind of slightly balance that out? I stubbed my toe. Oh, but I just got a great deal. So, it's always going to be that way. And the inner peace comes when you learn to balance that energy and align it.
The words that come to mind right now are being in concert, right? Well, when it's togetherness. And then I was thinking, well, almost like an orchestra, thinking about concert. As a musician, I can appreciate that, sometimes you can have a timpani that you're wailing on, it's really loud, or you can have the dynamics of it's quiet. If it's always loud, who's going to enjoy that? And if it's too quiet and you go to a concert, you're going to be like, what is going on? Is this really what they're doing? But because when you orchestrate it in a way that there's balance and there's in and out and happy, sad, like a good movie, they take your emotions.
They take your emotions up and down and up and down and around. But that's life.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that is it's okay. It's okay to you don't have to be happy and positive all the time. You just kind of want to balance it out a little bit, because and that's what life is. And that's what inner peace is.
Yeah. I don't think it's healthy. Like if you're always the 10 out of 10 happiness or 10 out of 10 sadness, there's going to be problems in both of those where you have to understand the balance. That's so good as well. Running a little bit out of time here. There's something I'm making sure we get it on the show. Healing hoodies. Super cool. Yes. I saw them on your website. Tell us about Healing Hoodies.
Healing Hoodies is my mission, and anybody, first off, that buys one, it's 100% net proceeds that goes to helping young girls and women. And because as a young child, I was not motivated or inspired to do anything. I was just there in a lot of cases. And it's so important as a young age for young women to be inspired to do something, to be encouraged to do things, just know that they can do something. So the best thing I knew what to do, and since I love words, was to put words on hoodies or sweatshirts. And on the front, I have 6 different ones. One on front says like I can, and then on the back it'll say you can too, or go out and make somebody smile, or I'm enough, you're enough too. So that you're getting people coming and going, you might say. And it's just another way of spreading the words of motivation, to help. And my goal is to not only sell, give away 1 million of these to young kids and young girls, but to also be able to create and help them educationally wise, financially wise, learning financing, learning how to stay motivated, learning how to be positive and growing and being aware when they're young, where I think that's a class that should be in school. Learning about personal growth. That should be a class. So that's my healing hoodies, and I love it. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, I think it's great because number one, it's a great cause behind it, helping women and girls and through life's challenges. Just like your books are helping them, but here you're financially helping them by doing a percent of the proceeds. And then also, from a fashion sense, like I know people and myself as well. I'm wearing bands right now. One says grateful on it. Another one says, God is bigger than your problems. Just like these little reminders and things that I like to look at. Some people think like you really need a bracelet to tell you, to remind you of that. And it's like, do I need it? No. But does it help me? Yes. And even putting a shirt on that says something cool on it like that makes you feel good because it's a positive story. It's a positive influence. So you're getting that out into the world.
Well, and the thing that I really loved about it is sometimes people see signs and they go, oh my God, I saw the sign that you can too. And so somebody, that's reason I put it on the back and the front and something different, because somebody will see them like, I'm motivated. And it may be on the back that says you're motivated too. And it might be one of those signs that somebody behind you is like, my God, because I know I believe in signs sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? I can do this. I can do this. So that was my
about that
goal.
change that happens in an instant.
Yes.
It could be a word that just reminds us, if it's the word gratitude or whatever it might be, to just reflect on it. Like you said, pause. You see something, pause. How are you going to change or make a different choice based on what that word is? And that's what these do too, because I could be having a rough moment and it just reminds me to be grateful, or I have it on the mug as a reminder.
And I want to give you 2 more words because I know we're getting, you're going over here a little bit. Thank you. There's 2 words that I definitely want people to know and maybe possibly utilize besides the word choose and the word pause is get to. Placing that word and saying, I have to go to the store today. Saying, I get to go to the store today.
Ooh.
Instead of I have to do my laundry today, I get to do my laundry, because some people don't have laundry to do. Some people don't have food to eat. I get to have dinner tonight. Some people don't get to have. So when you say the word get to, it helps 2 ways. It makes you feel good, like, oh my God, I get to do this. And it puts you back into control in the second thing. I get to.
It's a privilege.
It's a privilege. Yeah. It's a privilege. I get to have a podcast with you today.
Yeah. You stand up and get out of bed with 2 legs right there. You're
I get to stand up.
It's a blessing to stand. It's a blessing to have our limbs. It's a blessing.
So those 2 words are, if people can put that into the vocabulary along with choose and the word pause, they can take it and run with it all and probably have some good days.
No matter what you're doing right now, listening to this, if you're a school teacher, you're a firefighter, you're a cop, whatever your profession is, and you might be like questioning, you get to do it. So just remember that it's an honor and privilege that you get to do what you do.
Yes.
Awesome. This is not meant to be a curveball. I like to
sure.
Towards the end, right? I feel like we're in the bottom of the 9th. I gotta
there we go.
I'm not trying to make you swing and miss. I'm trying to really have make sure I didn't miss anything with understanding who you are, what you stand behind, and everything else. And so if you can be known for one thing, what would that be and why?
If I could be known for one thing,
supporting.
Supporting, I love supporting others. I love
Mhm.
supporting women, especially. I love supporting their voices to be heard. And why do I do it? It's part of my DNA, I believe.
Mhm.
I think I had a lot of trauma in my life. And a lot of
Mhm.
people, if they read my book and they look through things, they would see that, my gosh, she's had a lot of trauma that's happened to her.
Yeah.
But there's a reason, and that was, I believe, to support and help others. And that's just, you know,
Beautiful. I
yeah.
feel that people are called to do what they're doing, and it takes being silent to have your calling sometimes hit you, which is another
Yes.
to piggyback on the idea of pausing and reflecting and feeling like I get to do this.
Hmm.
Well, what you get to do, you're on a path now helping women and helping younger women
Hmm.
to get to this place of understanding so they can have, the big five again, were acknowledgement, forgiveness, mindset, accountability, perseverance, and many other
And the
inspirational.
power within.
Yeah, the power within. It's not just fun words, and it's even the sweatshirts. It's not just words on a shirt. Excuse me, it's not only words on a shirt, it's what they mean when you put them into action.
Hmm.
And someone like yourself, I feel you're you're taking your background, and it was devastating at many times. I cannot imagine having a mother who is an alcoholic, and this how difficult that is. And then a father who the only way to connect with him is to try to emulate a lot of his. And so
Hmm.
you're constantly kind of chasing acceptance of your own parents, which I don't
Right.
even can't even imagine or fathom what that must feel like for a young child or for anybody. Guess what though? It's part of your calling because now you're helping. And do you think that someone who didn't experience it or experienced it is going to be better equipped to help these women? And I think this is it. This is your calling.
Yeah, this is my calling. This is my story. This is what I'm supposed to do in my third career. And
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the fact that you're an outstanding realtor for over what, 20,
well,
30.
but I work with realtors, a lot of realtors and women also. But it's just that's just what I do. And besides coaching, I mean, I have a business, real estate business. But
Mhm.
that who I am is this. This is who I am and who I've been and what I've been teaching women for the last 25 years. And I've grown along the way. I've learned and changed along the way, like you talked about. You change
Mhm.
every 5-10 years. From 5 to 10 years from now, we'll do another podcast. I'll probably be a different person.
Yeah.
So, but that's the way
Your
it's
your your
supposed to be.
boat will probably literally be parked somewhere differently, and also
Exactly.
figuratively you'll be in a different spot, right?
Exactly. But, I think what I want people to know, though, is everybody has stuff.
Mm,
We all have stories. You're not alone in any of this. Is it hard work to work on things? Absolutely, it is. It will never be completely done. But what I can say is it makes a life worth living more and more beautiful when you can know you're growing and you're feeling and you're changing and you're becoming aware. There's just some kind of a part in you that, like, I'm better than I was yesterday.
mm, yeah.
You're never going to be perfect, but that's okay. We don't like perfection. Perfection is boring.
Yeah. It's more realistic is you improve, right? And you
Hmm.
reflect, hey, I'm better than then you can fall back.
Yeah.
And that's gonna feel bad. But then the only thing you can do then is get back up. It happens with our weight. If you're watching your weight, you can lose 10 pounds and gain 5 more back and lose 20 and
Yeah.
gain 7.
I call that learning. I was just talking to somebody. She was kept talking about, well, I just failed. I said, no, you didn't fail. You just learned.
Yeah.
If I put on 20 pounds, well, I learned not to do that now, didn't I?
Right. Yeah. Everything's an experience. It's really what you do with it and how you can learn from it.
Yeah.
Um, my mission for this show is to inspire people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. I have the perfect guest here to do it. What would you tell them if you can deliver just a real concise message to inspire them to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams?
That when you say that reminds me of Beam Me Up, Scotty, because I'm a Trekkie. Just
There you go. I can't do it. I need to
I can't
cheat.
do that either. But go boldly where no one else has gone before, right? I really would probably bring back to what your 5 golden words were. Is that people think I can't do something. They utilize that word can't, or, they're not smart enough, or they're not capable enough. And I want to just leave them to letting them know that every single person, every single woman, every single girl, every single man, every single child has that power within them that they can ignite. We're all just diamonds in the rough, you might say. And what we're trying to do is just polish them up, and hopefully they'll start to shine. And they will shine them every day. If you polish them a little bit, they shine even more and more. And then it becomes brilliant. And you're like, wow, I love being this person. So I guess it's simple. It's almost like the Wizard of Oz, which is my favorite show, is you've always had the power within. You just had to learn it for yourself.
Ooh, so good. I think the key word is learn it like for yourself, because we can learn from other people's stories. Like watching a movie, you can certainly learn from a character, but when it happens to you, you get it. It's like, oh, I understand now. Now it hits home. When it's actually me, different story.
This is when it should be said to be, it's all about you. It's okay to say it's all about you.
Yeah. You internalize it's a whole different story at that point. This has been an incredible conversation. There's one last thing I'm going to ask you to do before you head out. Okay. Thank you again for being here. I'm going to hit your socials again. Website is Patricia Love. It's PATRICIA love.com. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/the RahRah Coach. And on Instagram, Coach Patricia Love. What are 3 things you're most grateful for?
Right this moment, I am grateful that my kitty cat's looking down at me, smiling at me.
That's awesome.
I'm grateful for that smiling smile that you have on your face right now. This has been a joy. And I am grateful that I am living a simple life that I love living on my boat.
I call that being on purpose. You're doing what you're called to do. You're on purpose. Yeah. I love it. I mean, this interview sticks out for me. It really does. I mean, I'm not just saying that. I hear a lot of the podcasts I listen to where the host says, you're my favorite guest. And, you kind of hear him say it over and over. I really mean it that this interview sticks out. It's going to be one I'm going to be listening back to quite a bit because we covered a lot in an hour. Yeah. And it's not just a lot of business jargon. These are life applicable lessons. And they're also not too hard to understand. It's not like we did some kind of scientific lesson that you need a protractor to find the solve for X. I was listening to John Maxwell actually on the way here, and he was saying the best communicators do keep it simple. They take a very complicated thing and they can articulate it. So I forget what he said, but everybody can learn it. I forget that he used a creative way to explain that, but everybody can learn it. Yeah. Man, I wish I could remember how he said it, but yeah, you know what he says, educators, and this isn't a knock. I'm not trying to knock the education system right now, but a lot of times they overcomplicate it to almost make it seem like things are harder to figure out. They give you a paragraph to solve one little thing. And a great communicator makes it one line so everybody understands. That's
right. Just keep it simple. I like simplicity. I like easy things. And I think that's one of the reasons when I coach, I just believe in keeping it simple, and taking baby steps, and just letting people know it'll happen, but it's going to be a while.
Yeah. I remember what he said.
Okay.
And I put the cookies on the lower shelf.
I like that.
On the first shelf. I put the cookies on the first shelf. Everybody can get them.
And that's so important because everybody should be able to have access to it, right? It's just keeping it simple. Yeah,
if
absolutely.
You talk and try to communicate up here and you get 4% of your audience knows what you're talking about. How many people can you help today? But if you leave the cookies on the first shelf, everybody can get them. And you got 100% people that can be inspired.
And then we can help and support everybody.
Yeah. It's so good. I also heard that you should, when you're writing, write at I think it's a 5th grade level is where like the average American reads.
Well, that's not a problem. That's how I did mine.
Yeah. And I was going to joke and say like, that's good because at least then I'm still, I feel I'm safe. That's about, I feel like I read it about a third.
Well, then you should be able to read my book really easily then.
And again, Seen and Unheard, A Little Girl's Journey from Silence to Empowerment. Where can people pick that up?
Well, it's not exactly out yet. It's going to be on Amazon real soon, but you can go to my website and it'll pop up. You can be notified, but it should be out just the next couple of weeks. We had a little publishing,
not a problem.
issue.
Anyone
right?
who's listening right now, we're recording this in early March, so by the time someone's listening, I encourage you to go check it out on her website again, patricialove.com, and look for that information, because even though there's a little delay, it may be out by the time this episode is launched.
Probably will.
Any last words of wisdom you want to throw at us before you zoom off?
Just go out and be you.
Yeah. Be you, everyone else is taken, right?
Exactly.
This is so good. I can literally probably just interview you 10 times in a row, and we could keep the content flowing.
Well, I was looking forward to this too, because we had connected before a little bit, and so I was looking forward to this. So thank you for having me.
It was worth the wait. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing, being vulnerable, telling your story. Really hits home with me, and I appreciate you and everything you're doing to make a difference in the world. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Hey guys, this is Mike, and I wanted to personally thank you for tuning in, for being part of my journey. Together we can make a positive impact in the world. A shout out to everyone who's been tuning in. I love reading your feedback and appreciate the reviews on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and the messages that have been coming in on social media as well. I love you guys. Thank you so much for making this journey as much fun as it's been so far. I'm doing what I love, and it's awesome to hear that it's showing up in the podcast. If you haven't left a review yet, it's greatly appreciated if you do. And of course, if you share any content on social as well, I see it all and I appreciate you helping me spread the love. You can check out more show notes and information at mikeduppodcast.com, MIKED uppodcast.com, powered by Social Chameleon. You know what to do. Be great and be grateful.